So you actually, I understand, reached out in an email to Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry rather, and why did you do that? And how could Winnipeg potentially be affected by what's happening in the States politically, specifically with the actions of ICE and the reactions to ICE in Minneapolis?
Winnipeg has 11 sister cities around the world. Minneapolis is one of those sister cities. A couple of years ago, we celebrated our 50th anniversary of that sister city relationship. So it's a friendly relationship, and Mayor Fry invited me to Minneapolis in the summer of 2023. We were there, spent some time together. We've been in touch ever since. And so I just sent him a text message. It basically said, we in Winnipeg were watching with concern what is happening in your city. Our thoughts are with you, and my hope is that Minneapolis returns to peace and a peaceful city as soon as possible. And as a mayor, I can't imagine what he and the citizens of Minneapolis are going through right now.
And of course, disagreements between his city and his state governance, and then the federal government and what they're doing with their operations on the ground. What about our part? I mean, I was reading what you had shared with one of my colleagues. The goal to prepare, reading his language, is to prepare Winnipeg for what you've described as a once unimaginable possibility. So are we expecting U.S. residents might come here?
I don't know what to expect, and that's what I was saying to the media yesterday is there's no playbook for this. The world has changed, completely changed. I thought our Prime Minister, his speech yesterday on the world stage was articulate, it was clear, and I think it really gave us an insight into what our Prime Minister is seeing. And I think, as I said yesterday, as mayors across this nation, we should be standing in solidarity with premiers and our prime minister, because the world has changed completely, and our relationship with the United States, I don't believe, will ever be the same.
Do we need to? What might we need to think about around military personnel who are based in Winnipeg?
We have a lot of military personnel based here, of course, with 17 Wing, with the Canadian Air Force, has a large presence here. I think we need to be prepared as a community, first of all, to support them in their work. If there are going to be deployments that are supporting NATO allies or other, in other parts of the world, we already have people on deployment now, but if that's going to increase, we as a city, I think, as neighbors, have to be aware of that and have to be supporting those families who are defending our country and defending the values that Canada stands for. And I think now is a time for us as Canadians. I'm a very proud Canadian, love my nation. And I think that, this is a time for us to really reflect on what we value as Canadians and do all we can to uphold those values and defend those values with like-minded nations around the world.
When you use the word value and reflect on what that is for you, what's at the top of the list?
I think freedom, for sure, equality, opportunity, and I think it's running now counter to frankly, an imperialist mindset and actions and framework that we see in other countries. And again, I go back to the Prime Minister's speech. I think he articulated it very well, and it really shows how our world has completely changed, and locally it will impact us. I think it impacts our businesses, it impacts our families, who, as I said, are serving in the Canadian Forces, and it has caused us to rethink what our international relationships are and will be in the future.
8 minutes to 8 o'clock. This is our regular monthly interview with Mayor Scott Gillingham, but we're talking about bigger issues after, of course, watching U.S. President Donald Trump right now speaking live in Davos, and then our Prime Minister yesterday. Let's bring it much more closer to home here and to something that actually is concerning some folks. One of them we actually had on in the first hour of the show, so we're going to play you a little clip here because she's actually concerned about birds. There's about 600 Manitobans who've sent emails to the city, I understand. Shelley Bone's one of them. She's with Bird Friendly Winnipeg. She has her PhD in integrative biology. She said last year when the city announced they were looking to change some restrictions so birds didn't hit windows and new developments that have to be built differently, that was a moment for her. But then now this has been looked at again and might be pulled back. Here's what she had to say.
Well, individually, just a little bit sad. I was really proud of my home province and my home city to have this bird-friendly policy in place even before there was a bird-friendly organization championing it. They just did it, and I was so proud. And then to hear that after pushback from developers, they're thinking of pulling it back. It's kind of disappointing.
What's your response to that? I mean, I know this is actually going to come up today. There's a report proposing getting rid of it. Developers saying this could be too expensive. She's saying we should value this. What do you think?
There is a hearing today, so because it's a hearing, I have to, there's only so many things I can say because we're going to be talking about that today and hearing from advocates that want us to bring in and hold to some bird-friendly policy. We'll hear from developers as well and interested citizens. And so, I want to give credit to Councillor Janice Lukes, my colleague, who really has been, has talked about bird-friendly policies and regulations to try to, provide protection for birds, migratory birds, and other birds. And so we'll have it's on the agenda today. It'll be a big topic that we're listening as a council, hearing, weighing the options about what can and should be done.
Okay, we'll report later on more of the discussion. Two more things I want to cover with you, if we may, Mayor Gillingham, here on CBC. Help us make sense of the housing starts. So 5,000 new homes in Winnipeg last year, second highest total in our history, up 12%. That's one of the numbers. More than double the Canadian average. So that seems obviously like good news. But then fewer homes finished construction. They dropped more than 35% compared to the year before. So does this mean, and I hope listeners can follow my logic here, does it mean we'll be back to some, regular numbers of starts or fewer starts or even lower this year? Because if builders can't build fast enough, we won't be able to catch up. Like, is this a good news story or where's the cause for concern?
Well, it's for sure a good news story. As you say, Winnipeg's number doubled the national average when it came to housing starts. We were at 12.3%. The national average was 5.6%. In regards to the number of completions being lower, I mean, once housing has been permitted, there could be a number of factors really that influence the completion dates. It could be the reporting of the timeline of reporting. It could start in 1 year and not get completed within that year, and it will get captured as a completion in the following year. But this really would be a good question too, I think, for the development community as to what factors are causing or are behind not completing the housing that's being started as quickly as possible. But overall, it's very good news for Winnipeg. We have talked about, with you before, you've reported on the fact that we don't have enough housing in Winnipeg. Mm-hmm. We as a council have been really focused with our public service as well, working very hard together to get housing approved. And that has been happening. We're getting housing approved faster.
Do we need more builders?
I don't know that we need more builders.
Or more people in the trades?
It could be. We have put a lot of approvals through, which is really, really exciting. In fact, it's been reported just last week. I think we were talking about it, that right now they're under construction or about to begin construction. In Winnipeg's downtown alone, there will be up to 5,000 new residents living in Winnipeg's downtown because there's so much housing being built in the center of our city. So it's really, really good news. It kind of couples with the population growth that we have seen. Now, I think, the population growth rate will begin to wane a little bit. We're already seeing that. But we've hit 850,000 people in Winnipeg. We need housing for all those people.
Okay, last minute, and we had a really comprehensive conversation with Bjorn Radstrom from the city about transit. Obviously, ridership is down. He said it's part of adjusting to a new system. He also cited the reduced number of newcomers allowed into the country. I think a lot of people sort of thought, really, is that really affecting things? There were some people skeptical that was, but he acknowledged that's one of the reasons. Well, my question to you is, when do you worry? When do you go, okay, maybe this system, even though we planned it well and we researched it, doesn't work for the city of Winnipeg? When do you worry? When do you look at that?
Well, first of all, to the skeptics, respectfully, Bjorn's right. Bjorn Radstrom is right. For sure, immigration, the drop in immigration numbers, absolutely, and international students for sure is one of the reasons that the ridership has dropped. In fact, it's dropping across Canada in transit systems. However, the new system we rolled out, I believe, is the right system. I'm not pleased with the way it's rolled out. I hear from transit riders, they're frustrated. I acknowledge that. We are working now to improve the system and make adjustments as necessary, adding more late night service, early morning service, more buses to deal with some of the capacity issues in the morning. We're adding transit shelters. And so I ask riders, thank you for your patience. I acknowledge that some are frustrated and right, and fairly so. But we are making the changes. We're working to improve transit. We're working to make transit safer for everybody. We're working to make transit better for everybody.
Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
That is a Winnipeg Mayor Scott Gillingham.